G'day everyone, welcome back. This time we're still flat out on the RX7. So this episode is pretty much all bodywork. We're going to get essentially the rear, or the side skirts and the rear quarters completely blended, ready for primer, and then ready for colour, I guess. There's not too much to do as such. We just need to touch up these areas that we glassed last time and need to do some final finishing on the rear bar. But apart from that, we're pretty good. So yeah, that's the bulk of it. I do want to strip the doors. Apparently there's been kids riding on my windows. I want to strip the doors and we're going to get them prepped as well. And something else you may notice that's different from last episode is the bonnet. I've got the factory Turbo 2 bonnet back on there because it seems like it's going to fit the supercharger a lot better than what that fiberglass one is. So I think I've decided that instead of cutting and shutting the fiberglass one, I'm actually going to cut and shut a genuine steel or alloy. Oh, I better figure that out. Hopefully it's steel. I don't feel like welding alloy. Anyway, we're going to cut up a Turbo 2 bonnet. Can't really believe I'm saying that out loud, but that's what we're going to do. Now, not this episode, but probably the next one, we're also going to rejigger engine mounts and get that thing sitting in the middle of the engine bay. I had not running a turbo, as you can tell, supercharger. I've got more than enough room to make extractors. It's annoying me how off-center this is. So that's going to get fixed. And then we're going to get the front clip back on and do all the blending for the front bar, where the front bar meets the sides, meets the guards. And we're just going to keep going. I would love to have, by the end of this episode, this whole car in primer, ready for paint. Minus the engine bay, because there's still a lot of work's got to happen in the engine bay. So, yeah, probably going to be quite a few time lapses in this one. I'm just going to essentially set the camera up, start sanding, start bogging, start filling, and get it to a point where we can get colour on it. So, alright, before I do that, you need to take a second, go down, hit the subscribe button, and also the notifications button, and leave a like. If you like the video, leave a like. We don't want anyone being dishonest. Alrighty, let's get to work. So, that was a fair bit of work. Doesn't look it in time-lapse mode, but it is. There's quite a few hours there, so we obviously bogged and sanded that 3 times actually, so that's just some little touch-up bits. This corner, I just wanted to get this transition a little bit nicer, so we just put a little bit on there. We're done on that back corner. That one, there was still a small hole, same with there. This side come up really good. There's just a few little lows that were just present when it was all sanded back, but I mean the camera just can't really work it, but it is nice and flat, good transition. That's, yeah, really happy with that side. Once we sand that final bit, I'll probably just give that a hit with some pressure pack undercoat just to sort of seal what's there. and we'll be good for that side. This side, again, I think it'll probably take 1 or 2 more little wipes. I'm just not quite as happy with it. I got the door gap a bit better. So up here, that's factory door gap, and then we come down to sort of where I started, and we got a smaller one, and then it, you know, transitions to around the corner. So I mean, this is not a, you know, top 60 haul sort of car, but I do want it to be as nice as I can get it. I mean, you know, I'm trying to make the gaps along the side skirt as good as possible. We're down to about probably 2 mil most of the way along, maybe 3 mil. So yeah. Now, on to the fact the bonnet doesn't close. I'm going to do something that's probably going to upset quite a few people, but I'm going to do it anyway. This scoop, so this is actually a genuine Turbo 2 bonnet, but that's what I didn't check. Is it steel? I don't think I have a magnet. Hang on, let me get a file. Okay, it is steel. Good. So, genuine Turbo 2 bonnet, and I'm going to cut it up. So, like I said at the end of the last episode, this engine doesn't sit square in the bay. Now, after some research and a few people answered me on some of the Facebook pages, that's just the way it is. Most of them sort of said that that's to allow more room for the turbo on that side, so that's fair enough. I go along with that. I don't have a turbo on that side, and I've still got more than enough room to build my extractors. So we're going to center this engine, because it's annoying me that it's not. Now, it actually comes dangerously close to actually shutting. So, you know, it's not bad. We're about probably, I'm going to say half an inch, probably an inch or so off closing. So I can come in, cut out the bracing in there, and it'll probably shut, because we've got, you know, all this void up under here. But when I move the engine across, obviously this supercharger snout is going to come across to about here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut and shut this bonnet. So I'm going to cut, maybe not on that line, maybe in here. And I'm going to cut this whole sort of section of the skin. And we're going to move this across so that we're central. So where basically the edge will be, you know, nice and close where it is with the windscreen washer, little nozzle up there. I'm going to have exactly the same over here. So the bonnet scoop will be wider, not really any taller. It's going to be tall enough, but it's going to be wider and it's going to be centered. And then the engine will be centered. So I think while we're waiting on bog to dry, no time like the present, we're going to get this bonnet off. We're going to get it sitting on some stands, lay it out with some tape, mark it all out, because, you know, really only get one good shot at it. And then we're going to start cutting. Alrighty, so this is what we're working with. There's a whole lot of tape lines going on here, but yeah, it should make sense once I start cutting. So this is the section we want to keep. So we're going to cut this side of the tape line, and then this side of the tape line, and it'll leave us with this chunk because it's got the roll and the taper, and yeah, it's more. This section here is more or less completely flat. So we're going to cut that. Come down here and cut it down here as well, because we want to keep this same profile. We just want to bring this all the way into this corner. Now, I guess the bonnet is sort of like the boat. Nothing's flat, nothing's square, nothing's true. It's all just, so it is what it is. So what we'll do, so I've got my perimeter tape lines, which should mean that it stays central. It's sort of as good as I could get with what I got. But what we're going to do is I'm not going to cut all the way through to here, because obviously we're going to have to remove this chunk of steel so we can bring it across. But I'm not going to cut this out yet. I'm going to cut this, get it away from the bonnet. So it'll mean, you know, coming all the way down in here and across, get it free so it's one piece of steel. And then I'm going to bring it across and get this edge of the steel to sit up against here, and then basically trace around the outside. That way it sits that's exactly the right shape, and we can come in and grind it all up and tack it, and then we'll be good. Yeah, a little bit nervous, but it'll be right. Nothing a bit of steel in a welder can't fix. Alright, she's well done now. The paint that was on there, not fantastic. But it pretty well went exactly as I hoped, which is sometimes unusual. So that goes across to there. And then we just need to put an infill panel in the middle. Unfortunately, the bit that I cut out, was actually really close. That might go back in there. We'll see. I was hoping that would go back in there, because then it's same metal. It should have been pretty much the same width, but you got to allow for cuts and things. So we'll see. What I'm going to do is prep both sides of these. I'll prep it all really, bust out the MIG, and I'll just tack it in some spots. And then I suppose we'll see if I can get that to be the right profile. And I'm going to have to try and do a little bit of a joggle sort of in here to get that to come down. And we'll do the same thing down there too. So anyway, fair bit more work, but that's going to work really well. It's basically as good as I could have hoped for. So let's keep going. Update time. There we go. That was quite a bit of work, but that's where we are. So you can see it's pretty good. Get that out of there. Pretty good. Actually, where's my ruler? So it's not. Whether the camera will sort of pick it up, it's low at the join, but it's pretty bloody good. I'm happy with it. Obviously there's still some bodywork and definitely some filler to go into it. I hate putting filler on bonnets, but there's not much I can do about it. The only real big issue is right there where that light just hit, right here. That's the only spot on the bonnet that actually got a wrinkle in it from the welding. So I'm not entirely sure what I can do there. I can try and shrink the metal around it. I don't have a lot of experience with trying to shrink and stretch steel with heat, but you know, that's what YouTube's for. I'll see if I can get some information, and I'll try and shrink the steel around it and try and bring that back up. Yeah, I mean I could fill it, but that's a pretty big fill. I'd rather try and get that better first, but yeah, I think it's going to look pretty cool. Get in there. There we go. Not entirely sure what I'm going to use to fill this gap yet. I think realistically I'll just get the whole thing sitting elsewhere. Just get it so it's all nice and flat. And just fiberglass. There's not much more I can sort of do. I still haven't found the other bit of that. I know it's kicking around somewhere. That was broken when I got the car, so I didn't break it. I just cut everything in half. So yeah, that's the bonnet, and it's central. Imagine that. So anyway, we also did a crap load more on the rear quarters. So these transitions, there's a tiny little bit of fill to go in there. Other than that, transitions on both sides are ready for primer. I'll probably just give them a block with something a bit finer. I've been using 180. So I probably might just give them a quick block with maybe some 240, and just to take some of the big heavy scratches out of it. But yeah, this side's right. I'm really happy with the way this one come up. Just had to do a little bit of work on the transition line here, but I mean, again, I don't know if it shows up on camera, but I feel like that transition on both sides is actually a lot neater than it was. So yeah, started work in and around here, and then down to try and blend all these lines down in this corner. It takes a bloody long time. So yeah, that's where we are for that so far. So what I'm going to do, that bonnet's pretty much where the metalwork's going to be, but I want to bolt the supercharger back on and get the underside cut out, get the ribs cut out on the underside so that I can close the bonnet properly, and then the bonnet can sort of come off and get worked off the car then, because we need to. I'm probably not going to get anything done with that front bar this episode. I was hoping to, but I mean, this stuff has taken a long time. I'd like to get these rear quarters, even if it's just pressure pack, just undercoated again, just so that they're a little bit better sealed from the weather. And then, yeah, like I said, get that supercharger on and get the bonnet clearance done. And I'm going to pull the engine mounts off. We're going to sling the engine and put it in the middle of the car and see how that looks. So then I might have to make some new engine mounts for that. So anyway, good progress, heaps more to go. So, it's in there. It's supercharger itself doesn't actually hit, which is good. So there's clearance on the body all the way. Oh, I don't know if we can get you up in there, but there is. Probably, I don't know, maybe a finger's width. It's not a lot, but anyway, there is clearance there, so that's a bonus. This bonnet, I think, also probably has to come up a little bit too. I think it might be, oh, maybe not actually. It might be. Oh, it's on all it stops. Okay, so that's down, but it doesn't actually hit. So that's good. Not so good is that hole saw just so happens to be pretty much the right width and the right diameter of the pulley. Now, if I try and put it on and line the center bores up, sort of can't. It hits. So, there's two ways around that. We can make a smaller supercharger pulley. That's 75 mil. I'm reluctant to go much smaller than that, because the smaller you make the pulley, the more RPM you spin the supercharger and the more boost you make. Now, by my calculations, I should be making about 13 or 14 pound of boost anyway. Now, this engine isn't doweled and studded, so yeah, it's got factory bolts and factory dowels. So I don't really want to be pushing too much down its throat. Sorry, I think my calculations were about 11 pound of boost, and I was hoping not to go over about 14. Make a smaller pulley, spins the charger faster, I'm going to get more boost. So, don't know, we'll see on that one. The other option is I can niggle out, where is this? So that's the shape of the top piece. Obviously with that there's no way that we're going to fit that diameter there, but I can sort of come in and just niggle that sort of section out. I don't know, we'll see. I'll play with that. It's really not, it's not that big of a deal. Even if I do have to space the bonnet up, you know, whatever, we can compensate our panel gaps on the edges when we fit the front clip. So, you know, if we can make it all in the front clip and the bonnet has to sit up, I don't know, 10 mil say, and we can adjust that with the front clip so that our bonnet lines don't look off, then that's what we'll do. So next step, I'm going to sling this engine and I'm going to undo the engine mounts, and we're going to measure up for some custom mounts. Or, you know, when I say custom, I mean we're just going to cut and shut these ones to get the engine in the middle of the bay, because I can't go too much further with pulley placement and everything like that until I know that that harmonic balancer is in the center line of the engine bay. Plus, I also want to make sure that it doesn't interfere with like where the gear stick comes up through the center console, and you know, clearance on the bell housing, which there's heaps. It actually makes it better for the clutch. So yeah, we'll go along with that. So there's still miles of room down there for me to make an exhaust manifold, given that, you know, it's got no turbo. So yeah, that's our next step. Sling it, shuffle it across. There, see, isn't that better? I really don't know if it shows up on camera or not, but trust me, in person, when you're standing here looking at it, it's out by a mile. It's actually 30 millimeters. So, well, no, having said that, at the snout, it's more than 30, because I'm going to have to make, I just managed to sort of wedge a block in there. That distance there is 30 millimeters. So, that engine mount, I'm going to have to cut and shut. Oh, I actually have a spare one somewhere. I'll do the spare one. But I'm going to have to cut and shut that engine mount 30 mil. It's going to have to be bigger. And then this one, I'm going to have to cut and shorten by 30 mil. Don't know exactly how yet. Yeah, I'll figure it out, because you still got to keep the angle of the dangle so it drops onto the rubber engine mount properly. But anyway, that's fine. But that's not going to happen in this episode. We're pretty much out of time, to be honest. I mean, I feel like we've got a fair bit done. That bonnet is ready for finishing work, apart from just cleaning the hole up on the underside. And I'm going to make the side. I'm going to make a little support, just a bit of steel, maybe a little bit of round bar even, that sits in under here and comes down and just supports that front lip. Oh, actually, no, it won't. Solid. Never mind. Don't worry about that. Yeah, like I said, that bonnet, I really didn't know what I was going to do with that sort of situation, so I'm pretty stoked that that's resolved, and it shuts with the supercharger on there. That really was a massive heartache, well, not heartache, it was a massive headache of mine that I couldn't resolve until it was in there. So yeah, and like I said, I think it's going to come up pretty good, nice and wide in the center. Something different. We got a whole heap more work done on these quarters. So this one I noticed needs a tiny bit more filler in here that I forgot about. Other than that, it's golden. And then just some smoothing. I mean, this is just pressure pack primer just to seal it up a bit. This side, again, I don't know how well we're going to go on camera. It's good. It's got a good line with the door. The body gap is pretty good. I mean, they probably could do with a little bit more beefing out amongst here, but the rest of it, even the body line with the actual flare, is pretty good. Yeah, I'm not a professional body man at all, obviously, but I mean, I still think that's well within the realm of what I would consider acceptable. So yeah, like I said, I think we're going to have to leave that here for this episode. I wanted to get more done. I wanted to get the sunroof in and fitted, but I'm not going to. The sunroof that I've got a really good set of rails, the electrics and the rails and everything. I've got a really good set of that. But the actual roof that I've got, I thought was, yeah, we'll take you out and give you a look. So that's the roof. I thought, oh yeah, it's not too bad, you know, there's a bit of rust down in the corner. But I kind of forgot about all of that in there. So it's really ordinary in there. That corner's ordinary. And I looked online, and actually, you know, if anybody can give me some honest reviews, the Phil's Rotary eBay site, they list them for $450 for a brand new metal skin, or sorry, not skin, a whole brand new sunroof. So I mean, it's a little bit of money, but they're pretty shot, and the one that come on it is even worse, and it's now got a really big hole in it, because that's what I got steel out of to fix the bottom. So we're just not going to get to that. But next episode, we're going to have the engine mounts done and sorted. So that engine will be sitting properly where it is now. We're going to weld the elbow onto the supercharger. We might even reassemble the supercharger. So at the moment that's got no lobes in it. The actual rotors have been professionally recoated, so we can reassemble that. We're going to finish making the pulley for the front of the supercharger and get effectively all the belt routing and everything done on the engine. We're also going to, we're at a point now where I can come in and I can start putting things in the bay, so I can put the radiator back in for the moment, and what can we put in? Our electric power steering, so that can sort of get sitting. I'm pretty sure it's going to sort of come down in this front corner, down in here somewhere, so we can start working on things like that, as well as at the same time we're going to keep going with bodywork. Bodywork's one of those things that's, I do a little bit then I get bored of it, and I do a little bit and I get a bit bored of it, but slowly it'll get there. And we are also going to do some more on the front clip. We're going to do some on the front clip. I want to get the guards adhered to the front bar, glued together, and then I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to seal up all those seams so you can't see them. That'll happen in the next episode, because we're at the point now where we need to start working on the car as a whole instead of sections, if we want to ever get this thing ready for paint. And we're going to do some more on the bonnet, because I want that bonnet signed off pretty much. So alright, yeah, like always, thank you very much for watching, especially if you stayed to the end. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, subscribe and notifications so you catch the next episode. Oh, before I go, my parts turned up for the green machine. So I've got brand new rings, head gasket and base gasket for the 250 motorbike. So that will probably be the next episode you see on this channel, will be that bike. So yeah, make sure you got notifications on if you want to see that thing going back together and making some noise properly. So, rightio, take care, and we'll catch you on the next one.